Good morning, welcome to Morning Outlook. This is Kim speaking on Monday, the 18th of it's nearly July. It's already August, sorry. August then. Right, let's have a look at these markets. First things first, Friday retail sales never really did too much at all. So we're left to this week. This week, the key focus points will be, to a lesser extent, we've got the Reserve Bank of New Zealand expecting to be cutting rates there by 0.25%. That's probably pretty much priced in, but that's on Wednesday. Today there's nothing here scheduled of any significance. Tomorrow you've got the Canadian inflation. It's not a big mover. May obviously move the Canadian a little bit, but not going to be affecting the markets like any dollar data. Thursday, we've got the French, German, European, UK, American flash manufacturing and services data all coming out. There can be a little bit of volatility in it, but it's not really been moving markets as it sometimes does recently, because the focus is really back onto interest rates. Talking of which, we've got the Jackson Hole symposium that starts on Thursday, which is where the analysts are expecting the Fed chair to give Powell to give a bit more guidance, maybe on interest rate reductions, and be focusing on that sort of picture, and that's what's going to be driving the news there. So not really till Thursday. That's going to be running into Friday and Saturday, that particular meeting. So we'll see what happens there. It could be quite a battle with different Fed speakers having their own views now, whether they should cut by more or less. And the president's man, he's trying to get pushed through quickly, is not actually in place yet, but he'll be looking to try and push a bigger cut, and discussions of bigger cuts next time. It isn't a meeting specifically for interest rate cuts. I believe the actual subject of this one is employment. So there we go. Right, but the focus from the press will be more on interest rates. So that's the news this week. Sorry, quite a bit there, but right, the charts then. Let's look at technical analysis here. I'm going to just go through the majors because everyone wants me always to cover the majors. I'll tell you at the outset, there's not a great deal here that I'm looking at this morning. The markets have quietened down somewhat over the last month or so, and we're certainly seeing signs of it, and it might be back to sort of more normality, whatever that is. Right, so Euro US dollar then. Last week, just looking at its trend, well, it's really continued push through on Friday, coming off a bit this morning, looking at a little bit soft where it is. Now it could be just heading down to its weekly pivot. That might be a reasonable target for it to see it breaking. Preference for me would be to trade it on the long side, the upside. We have got this double top that's sort of come through, and well, as triggered to an extent, we could pull back. So realistically, the best place for me to be looking at this is somewhere near, let it run down. If it comes down, it might be bitty, but wait for the long opportunities later, maybe tomorrow. The pound, it's still been running up reasonably well. Thursday, Friday, Wednesday was okay. Thursday, Friday, if things really slowed up here, we ran into its weekly R2, and that stalled things. Again, there is the potential for it to come back off the weekly. I would be looking on many of these markets back for their weekly pivots to see what reaction we got. Now, if it didn't bounce, it doesn't matter. It's quite ugly. Friday was a really ugly day there. Nothing much happening. US dollar yen, it sums it up pretty well on the dailies here. It's ranging in a very small, I mean, we get an overlap of bars significantly. There's last week chopping. It's starting to consolidate into a sort of triangle pattern, really unreliable in terms of the movement. the consolidation on the hourlies here. Well, yeah, the way it's consolidating around the highs here could break and continue back up to these prior highs, the weekly R1, etc. Sorry, daily R1, etc. But very bitty looking. You've got to fight. You've got to choose your fights, your battles carefully in these markets. Aussie US dollar, another one. It's here. There's a drift. There's a drift towards the upside. We saw that coming off on Thursday. We saw quite a sell-off there into Thursday, which came off. But if anything, I'm just looking at this current 4-hourly bar. It's looking weak. Potentially, because we've got some divergence across the high here, some sub-divergences there as well. For that to work out, or to even trigger, I'd need to see it breaking Friday's low. So at the moment, it's just in that sort of in-betweeny play. US dollar CAD, no real difference here. Again, daily wise, it's started to push up a little bit there again on Thursday. We saw the bit of a leg up there, but again, nothing massively sitting there shouting at me at the moment. So they're the key majors. New Zealand dollar really following the Aussie dollar, not a lot of difference on that either. So nothing right at the moment. In fact, if anything, I was looking at this New Zealand dollar last week to roll over, and well, it was off the dailies last week. I was looking at it to roll over. It never happened. It went the other way with news, etc. This is looking quite similar-ish again, sort of the bear flag that's clearer on this time frame, on the 4-hourly time frame, but it would need to start or need to get a continuation later this morning maybe. It's a possibility. It is looking on the softer side. Other markets I've sort of identified this morning was the Euro CAD looks soft here, where it is, but it's such a strong old trend. I was just looking at it here. Well, say soft. It's almost into its daily pivot. A break of the highs here would forget that softness. You've got the bigger trend. That would be fine, and that's really where I'd like it to go, because purely I prefer to be trading with this trend here. But a breakdown of those of this pivot here post 8 o'clock, was just give it a bit of time. Could see it rolling backwards towards its pivot. Again, it might be just better if it does roll to the downside here and doesn't take the break initially. Let it roll back to its pivot there and wait for a reaction like what we saw back here, where it comes in the earlier part of the week. We see if we can get it back down to that level and its reaction. If it rolls over, it rolls over. We don't get into it. If it starts giving us a reversal, there's a long opportunity. Okay, there's very little else there. I will go through the other usual suspects here. So gold continued to tighten up here. Really is of no significant interest here at the moment. It's had a shorter time frames. The hourlies here, it's looking like it's got more action going on, but generally, if you look at last week, it's an ugly place to be, and you could soon lose money there. Oil. Now we have got this downward trend here. Later on, a reaction into that weekly pivot. See if we get a reaction into that, and maybe a continuation. Looking for the sell side. That doesn't tie up too badly for. We'll see what it does on the dailies there as well. But both, well, the overall market really looking for the short side. If we can catch some of that. Did go on. The afternoon here on Friday, rolled over quite nicely, pushing on. We'll see what it will do. It's getting a bit more like there are opportunities again in oil, particularly on the short side obviously at the moment. S&Ps, well, we just saw this going up, making new highs most of last week. At some point or other into Friday there, divergence is sitting across the highs here. Break of this low here, well, you might get some short-term shorts on it. It doesn't mean to say it's going to roll over. It's just it's just showing weakness, and you can see the weakness running through here at this stage. Equity markets, other equity markets, and the FTSE. FTSE again rolled in. Oops, what's it doing now? Is it going to stay still for me now? It's alright. I double clicked on the button. That's always dangerous. Yeah, Friday popped up to put a new high in. Looking a bit on the softer side in terms of reaction. There we go. Now this would be potentially, I mean, it's really crazy in a sense. It's in such a strong sort of position overall, but potentially if you were looking at this just on this chart, and we've got a breakdown later, this 90 or not, what's 91.50 on here, your readings might be different on different brokers because it's their own made up price, which correlates obviously very tightly with the FTSE. A break of the lows there, I mean, it's a lovely bear flag. would be a potential for its S1, a continuation. But the bigger picture, I mean, fighting against this big trend. DAX made me some money last week. Again, 4 hourly from the daily point of view, all we can see is it didn't quite make new highs last week, but it's up there into the upper part of the range, the previous range there. It's looking like it wants to put a little lower high on the intermediate time frame here. Lower time frames looking soft as well at this stage. Break of the lows, could just see it gives a 1-to-1 move here. So from this high down to the low, projected onto this high to the low. Doesn't mean to say it's going to be all rolling over, but as I'm saying that, we're hitting 8 o'clock, it's moving the other way. Okay, morning, what about Bitcoin? Okay, if you want to have a look at Bitcoin, I'll have a look at Bitcoin. He says, if I can find Bitcoin, there we are. Short term. Yeah, so Bitcoin, the frenzy, obviously into last week again, pushing into these highs here again, making highs. It looks like the wisdom would be waiting for the upside on this, or the reversals back to the upside, but on the short term time frame here it looks very soft in terms of the price action, putting lower highs in. This can swing around significantly. It seems to be having more impact on world news, etc., affecting it. But I was going to say it's showing weakness on this intermediate time frame. That's the key thing here. Now, again, my preference is to play with trends always, and that would mean I'd have to wait until it subsides and turns back around, gives me a long opportunity again. Now I know that because it's near a high, everyone wants to sell things, and when it's near a low, everyone wants to buy it, and they carry on seeing new highs taken out, etc. So I think it's a very risky place to be. As I say, I'd wait for the opportunities on the long side there. Right, I shall leave you there, and I will catch you in the morning. Take care, have a good day. Bye for now.